You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A-List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and the interview subject you're about to tune into the conversation with is a fellow who goes by the name of Michel Langevin, aka Away from the excellent French-Canadian metal outfit, Voivod. The reason for the conversation is to promote Voivod's upcoming January 2019 Australian tour. I'll read out some dates. They'll be playing Brisbane on the 23rd of Jan. On the 24th, they're playing Canberra. The 25th, they're playing Melbourne. And Sydney, you get a show on the 26th. This fella's a legend, so let's hear what he has to say. Here we go. Smith speaking. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. I was certainly looking forward to our conversation because I am a long-time fan of the band, and I'm very, very excited, as are a lot of people, it must be said, about the upcoming Australian tour, which is happening, I think, in January, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's been a long time, so we're very excited.
I can imagine. I mean, where do I start? Okay, so I suppose I'd better start with the obvious, though, which is because it has been, I think it's been over 20 years since you were last here, and you haven't been down here that often. So what sort of a show are you going to be bringing down? Is it going to be one that focuses on the newer album, The Wake, or are you going to be doing a bit of a career retrospective?
Oh, yeah. I mean, last time we were in Australia was in 2000. So I think we're going to go through, let's say, the albums from War and Pain to The Outer Limits. And
Cool.
then some material from Post Society and The Wake. I think that's pretty much what we'll cover on the Australian tour.
Mm-hmm. And who's in the band these days in terms of the touring lineup? Is it the same band that worked on The Wake, or have you got some other members or some different members coming in?
Oh, it's the same lineup.
Wonderful.
Snake, of course, and Rocky and Chewy. And this lineup it has been around since 2014, and the chemistry is amazing.
Yeah, I was watching one of your live videos that was posted for us, a fan film thing, I think it was. And yeah, I've got to say, the chemistry on stage looked fantastic. So that's music to my ears, literally speaking, to hear that you'll be bringing down that lineup. And I guess that leads to my next point. I'm a long-time fan because I'm in my 40s, so I was around during the deep, dark 90s where metal bands... it was very hard for metal bands, I think, through the 90s, as you probably... will agree. But Voivod, you were one of those bands that was constantly cited as an influence, including by a fellow like Dave Grohl. And I think you even designed the Probot album cover. So you guys have always had some level of prominence. And a lot of technically inclined bands, and there's heaps of them around these days, they love you guys and they constantly cite you guys as an influence. So my question for you is, are you aware of how influential and critically revered Voivod is, or is it one of those things that you just don't think about? You just get on with the business of creating music.
Oh, it's something that I really appreciate because I get to share stages around the world at festivals with younger bands, and I can hear the Voivodian chords.
Yeah.
And sometimes, of course, it's hard to tell if they actually listen to Voivod or maybe listen to a band who listen to Voivod, or maybe have a mutual admiration for, let's say, Killing Joke, but anyhow, let's say, for example, recently we played with Gojira, and I really heard some Voivodian chords in there at times, but it's impossible for me to really know for sure. But when I get told by, let's say, people from Meshuggah or Fear Factory that they learned a lot from Voivod, it's always I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. We're at the point now where you're listening to the bands that have been influenced by the bands that were like Generation One influenced by Voivod. But it is a wonderful thing, and I agree with you about Gojira, by the way, because they, to me, seem like the natural successor to you guys in many ways, including with the French heritage.
And then I was really, actually, I was blown away by these guys, and I really need to get up to date with their catalog because they were really fantastic.
Yeah, no, brilliant band. I only saw them recently, actually, when they came down here for the Download Festival. that happened last year. But I mentioned something earlier about the '90s. Okay, so it wasn't easy. Okay, we know that. And Voivod are one of the most critically revered, and I do classify you as an extreme metal band for the sake of what the point that I'm about to make here. So you're an extreme metal band by many measures. So the likelihood of you all buying Ferraris and buying your own islands is pretty remote, if you don't mind me saying. I hope you do get to do that, but if you want to do that, that is. But it probably won't happen because the business side of things has no doubt been very challenging. So the question that I've got for you is, how have you guys survived? It's close to 40 years now, if you can imagine that you guys have been doing this. So how have you guys survived the industry and the business side of things for so long?
I mean, we've learned many things and had to readjust many times, and there were crossroads and took the wrong path or took the right path, and so on and so on. And overall, we we really learned uh, really manage the band as something that's based around perseverance and all that. We're actually pretty lucky because we've had a very loyal following, and they show
Yes.
up at the show. And even today, these days, we're selling a lot of copies of the Wake. I mean, physical copies, and uh, altogether. Since we reformed in 2008, it's been an uphill thing for us,
Mm.
where we're gaining momentum every year. And there's like the tour we just did in Europe was really well attended, more than the years before, and so on. So the album is doing great, and it's having tons of 9 out of 10 reviews. So everything is going in our direction. But like you said, at times, let's say during the grunge years or the
Mm.
techno years, it became a bit more difficult for us. But it's over. It's our 35th anniversary this year, and
Yeah.
it seems to me that this period was very short, where metal was had a bit of a low profile, especially in North America, and but soon enough, Pantera and Fear Factory and Machine Head were doing great business and flying the metal flag high,
Yeah.
and and of course there was the new metal with Korn and such, and to me it really seemed like a small period, and plus we had during that time we just kept going to play festivals in Europe because the metal scene was always healthy there. So yeah, it's a combination of perseverance, loyal following, and festivals in Europe that kept us going through a small part of the 90s.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good answer, actually. Yeah. And I thought it must have been that because Australia is very similar to North America in that we're very trend driven, but in Europe they seem to, particularly Germany and France, don't seem to be quite so trend driven. I was talking to Biff Byford from Saxon about the same thing because I think he didn't mind the grunge years because I think he said words to the effect that they solidified the following that Saxon had in Germany, and I think Doro enjoyed quite a lot of success through the same period as well. So I guess there is one territory in the world where metal will never go away, and that is Europe. But it does lead me on to my next question, okay, which is that you guys and Celtic Frost, I always considered you two sort of one in the same basket. Legendary bands creating excellent music that is highly, highly influential. And you guys did something a bit different in that you are the longest standing member. You are the only consistent member of Voivod, it needs to be said. So congratulations for keeping the faith through so many changes and all the rest of it with that. But I think how you've been able to do it too is that you've subtly updated your sound to keep in check with each era. But my question for you is, did you did you get a lot of pressure like what Tom and the guys in Celtic Frost did to become more of a straightforward thrash outfit by some of the labels that you were signed to through the years?
Um, yeah. During the MCA years, we were like at times asked to play music that could be played on mainstream radio, to write music that was a bit more accessible,
Mm.
so it could justify their huge investment in the band.
Yep.
And the result was Andrew Rat and Outer Limits, and but it was still a bit too weird for mainstream radio in a way. And but the thing is, these at this point with Nothing Face, also we sort of had an alternative side to our
Yeah.
music that it allowed us to tour with Fate No More and Soundgarden, but also with Rush and also do really heavy festivals with Carcass, and so it goes back to the other question where it really the diversity of the style played against us at times, but it also helped us to go through leaner years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And one of the collaborators through the history of the band was Metallica bassist Jason Newsted. So he was around for two albums. But do you think when you look back on the two albums, so you got the self-titled album from 2003 and Dark Cartoris from 2006. But are they? Do you think they're important albums in the catalogue of Voivod? And also, is Jason? What are your memories of Jason being in the band?
Oh, fantastic times. Also, we also did Infini with Jason. So we played we recorded two posthumous albums after the unfortunate passing of Denis D'Amour, Piggy, and but we the self-titled album in 2003 was a fantastic adventure. We toured across USA with Sepultura, and then we did the whole Ozfest. At this time, Jason was playing with Ozzy as well, so he was doing two shows a night for like the whole summer of
Mm.
2000, basically. And as a warrior, we are still in touch. And a couple of years ago, he came on stage with us in San Francisco to play the song Voivod with two bass, Rocky and Jason. It was great. And also at Hellfest, we shared stages, and so is still a good friend, a real positive influence on Voivod.
Mm. Yeah, and look, the comment about Jason alludes to the fact that yourself, Piggy, Jason, Blackie, just outstanding musicianship and musicianship. I remember when I was growing up, just thinking if I could ever get as good as the guys in Voivod, I'd be well on my way to becoming exactly the musician that I want to be because I'm also a musician. And I've been influenced by the music that you have, particularly some of your earlier stuff. I still listen to Ravenous Medicine. It's on one of my gym mixes actually, and
And we still and we still play that one live.
oh, great! I'm so glad you do because look, I remember when I heard that. I remember I had like a tape, and I had that and some Celtic Frost stuff on it, and that's kind of like why to me the two bands are interchangeable. It's because of something that I did myself, which is put you guys on the same tape. But about Blackie, he's also a revered bassist. So, one of the things that I really enjoyed about Voivod was listening to the groove. Putting headphones on and just listening to yourself and Blackie carve out a pretty choice groove. So, was that something that you guys worked on a lot together in the early years and in the mid period of the band? Focusing on that wonderful groove that you crafted together.
I think in a way, it really comes from Motorhead, where I sort of copied Filthy Animal, and then Blackie was hugely influenced by Lemmy and his sound. A Snake was influenced by Lemmy.
Mm.
Piggy was influenced by Fast Eddie, and so that's really where we agreed on one thing, and so the root of our groove definitely comes from Motorhead. It was it's not something that we thought about or discussed at all. It just came naturally.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, that makes sense actually. Yeah, yeah. But I didn't. Now that you mention it, I can hear the Motorhead influence, but I didn't pick it up until you mentioned it. Actually, that's interesting. So yeah, but and the other thing, talking about your drumming, you always reminded me of Tommy Aldridge from Ozzy Osbourne band. You know, he played on Bark at the Moon, and I think he's in Whitesnake with David Coverdale these days. But an incredibly musical drummer that can play very fast. Have you ever been given that feedback before?
No, but I'm really honored, and I remember in the early days of Voivod, Piggy was playing Pat Travers, and Tommy was on there, and I
Mm.
was blown away with his double kick action and all that. And also, I must say, about 20 years ago, I saw him with Whitesnake, and he played about 90 minutes with double kick bass drum and all that, and full shape, and it was an eye opener for me where I realized that I had to be try to be healthy to be able to do that 20 years down the road, like he did, and all that. And yeah, I'm a huge fan. And he came to Quebec City to do a clinic about 3 or 4 weeks ago while we were on tour in Europe. And Chewy showed me a clip that some fan took with his cell phone, and
Hmm.
it's mind blowing. I don't even know how old he is, and he's still
Yeah.
he drums like he's like 20 years old, and it's really amazing. It's inspiring.
Yeah, I think he must be pushing 70 without checking on Wikipedia how old he is, but he must be getting up there because he always looked a bit older than the rest of the guys in Ozzy's band, particularly J.K. Lee back in the day. But he's
Mhm.
still pounding it out, isn't he? He's still got it. He's still got just wicked chops. But so do you, mate. So you know, have you ever thought about doing those clinics, or have you ever been offered the opportunity to do clinics the way you've described Tommy was doing in Quebec?
Oh, not clinics, but I do a lot of avant-garde performance by myself, where it's more improvisation.
Hmm.
I don't have the background to do clinics in terms of knowledge in music in general. I mean, Rocky and Chewy are really versed in writing and reading music and all that, but Chewy even teaches music at college. So, but for me, I'm really just a rock and roll drummer.
Well, long may you continue to do what you're doing, mate. You're a legend, and this has been a wonderful opportunity to chat to one of my favourite all-time bands. So thank you for making so much of the wonderful music that you have, and you know what? Long may you continue to do so. I don't see you guys slowing down anytime soon. The two, you know, I know that this lineup's been together since 2014, but this new album here is phenomenal, and the video that the video that you've posted online with the live performance is really one to check out. So thank you so much for making the music that you made, and you are one band that I will definitely be in the audience for when you come to Australia. I'll be in the Brisbane show.
Excellent. I see you then.
Thanks, mate. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye. You have been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series and syndicating for the A List Online. My name's Andrew Mackay Smith, and that conversation featured Michel Langevin from the French Canadian metal outfit The Legends, Voivod. Thank you so much for listening.